Staff of Myrddin now has some crazy new effects on some mages, but not all. So I've done the hard work for you and tested all of them out, so you don't have to do the hard work. Patch 9.7 saw Staff of Myrddin's passive change, and while its activation time is the same, after you have finished casting your ultimate ability, the consequences of this new ability are entirely different. For those of you that haven't caught up, Staff of Myrddin gives you magical power, percent penetration, cooldown reduction, but its passive is why it's truly broken. When your ultimate ability is finished casting, you gain Myrddin's Rage, which provides 25% increased damage dealt, decaying over the next 8 seconds. At the end of the 8 seconds, you lose Myrddin's Rage. This can only occur once every 45 seconds. The reason this is such an important change is because this can actually boost some mages' ultimate damage by 25%. That is a huge increase in damage and some already deadly abilities. We'll have some Thoth and Yanis gameplay of it on the channel later on, so be sure to subscribe to be notified for when those examples go live. So let's look into which gods work and which don't, as well as some interesting outliers. As I'm going through the different gods, I'll play some footage in the background of me testing all of this. Pay attention to some of the numbers that I type as I sort of experiment with the different gods. The first set I type is with Myrddin's Rage active, so that buff should apply. And the second set of numbers are when Myrddin is on cooldown, so we keep the same stats, we just don't get that extra 25% damage passive. Firstly, the gods it doesn't work on, sadly. Gods that hit with their ultimate ability while they're glowing with CC immunity, or while they're still dancing about in some sort of animation, will not work. Nuwa is still up in the clouds when her ultimate goes off, so it doesn't get any benefit, and the same goes for Freya in her Skybound ult. Anubis, Varan Samedi, Hades, and Ra all sit still while their ultimate ability either ticks damage or deals its full load straight off, neither gaining any benefit from Staff of Myrddin, sadly, as their animations haven't finished. Similarly, Baba Yaga, Hebois, Morgan Le Fay, Raijin, Scylla, Sol, Yu Huang, and Zhongqi are all moving about in some sort of extended animation, most of whom are CC immune while the damage happens, so they won't get any benefit from Staff of Myrddin on their ultimate ability either. The main exception is Sol, who doesn't get any benefit on that main burst of her ultimate, but all the smaller beams after do get the benefit. An honourable mention can also go out to Zhongqi, who really shouldn't buy this item, but if he does, the very last tick of his ultimate, as the damage has quite a long animation, will technically hit the enemy after you finish casting, so that one single instance of damage does get the buff. The final group that doesn't gain any benefits, other than the obvious gods like Aphrodite or Hel, who don't deal damage with their ultimate, is the god that transforms, the Morrigan. When she activates her ultimate, transforming into another god, unfortunately you do not get the buff until you transform back into regular Morrigan. So no turning into an enemy god and abusing Myrddin's Rage on their ultimates. So that leaves us with the rest. I didn't mention a lot of mages there, so you full well know a whole bunch of mages can actually get insane value out of Staff of Myrddin. So let's go through some of those. Agni was praised as one of the best gods for activating the old staff, as his ultimate has charges, but actually with a new passive, the cooldown can be a bit of a hindrance for him, although it still works on the first ultimate, giving you space to land more, even if they will have reduced power. Apwash also does work with it, but perhaps is one of the least damaging ultimates. You'd more want to use it to set up your 1-2 combo with Myrddin's Rage, but it technically works. Chunga is the first of our projectile ultimate mages, and these have an important caveat. If you hit an enemy at range with your ultimate, as Chunga or one of the other gods I will list, your casting animation will end before the ability hits them, and they will get chunked by that extra 25% of damage from Myrddin's Rage. However, if you hit an enemy at close range, your animation may not have finished casting by the time they get hit, and you will not receive that bonus 25%. So be careful with this one. Myrddin is a great pickup for most of these projectile ultimate gods, but you can lose the entire effect if you fire it too close. Other gods in this category are Discordia, who gets the bonus on the strike and the explosion, and of course, by extension, any extra explosions that spread also get the buff. Yanis, who can ult so far that Myrddin's Rage can actually start to fall off, but it is still really effective on him, along with his now new non-conquest buffs, make him really strong in those game modes. And lastly, Thoth, who is perhaps my favourite mage to buy the new Staff of Myrddin on. You can deal devastating amounts of damage with a bonus 25%, so definitely worth picking up. Kukulkan is actually an exception to this ranged ultimate nuking group, as he finishes his animation just before his ultimate touches the ground. It's already in progress, but it doesn't quite reach the enemy gods. So go nuts and cast this one at point blank range if you want. Iset and Hera are two awkward cases for Staff of Myrddin, one good and one bad. Iset is pretty great, although you can activate her ultimate before she's finished with the animation, but 99% of the time you'll want to gather some power in it, so as long as you're not instantly activating her ultimate, this is going to be a great combo with Myrddin's. Just remember this is gaining 25% damage, not 25% power, so you don't do any extra healing on this. Hera has quite the opposite issue. You get Myrddin's Rage damage on the dropping of Argus, regardless of how you drop him, but as you have the buff and Argus doesn't, your summon isn't dealing any extra damage, sadly. It's just that initial drop. Lastly, we have those mages who just throw their ultimates with minimal casting, or at least aren't able to deal damage until they finish casting and those animations have ended. And these are the perfect mages to pick Staff of Myrddin up on if you're looking to hit some crazy ultimates. Nox, Poseidon, Persephone, Vulcan, and Zeus all completely finish casting before dealing damage. And personally, I think Poseidon and Zeus are right up there with Thoth as the best gods to pick this item up on, as they can really be quite devastating with it, not only with their ultimate, but with their other abilities too. So there you have it, all of the gods you can and cannot use Staff of Myrddin on for your ultimate ability. Just remember that some gods will want to use it just to boost the damage of their basic abilities, but you can play around with those yourself, or check out the rest of this channel with gameplay and guides to see what gods we are using it on. Ciao.